For section 4.4, division with polynomials, let's look at number 22 on page 320 in your text as an example. So when we look at our problem, in the numerator, 4x cubed minus x squared plus 13, that polynomial in the numerator, you have to make sure that the terms are in order, in descending order. So when we check our problem, always make sure the terms are in order before you start the problem. If the terms are out of order, just rewrite your problem. Also, if you have a missing term, just use 0. So for this problem, notice that we do not have the x term. So it's x cubed, x squared, no x, and then the constant term, 13. So what I did is it says use 0 for any missing terms. So when I write out my problem, we need to use a long division. Notice that I used a 0x. So it's easier to just use 0 for the missing terms. It makes your problem easier to work out. And so for these types of problems where you are dividing by a binomial, two terms, then you want to make sure that you are using long division. Okay, let's start the problem. So we need to have a term up at the top such that when you multiply by x, we get 4x cubed. So you want to write 4x squared up at the top. 4x squared times x gives us 4x cubed. That's what you want. Okay, we want these to be exactly the same. So you need to have a 4x squared here. Now we need to take the 4x squared, we need to multiply it with -1 as well. Minus 4x squared. Notice the like terms are lining up, easier to work with that way. Remember, the next step for long division is you need to subtract, so I have a minus, but you have to be careful because you need to make sure you distribute this minus sign to both terms. Therefore, I'm going to use parentheses, and you need to distribute the -1 inside. 4x cubed minus 4x cubed, that's 0. Okay, you always want to make sure that the first terms always give you 0. Now, we have minus x squared plus 4x squared, because remember, you are distributing, so this becomes a plus 4x squared. You want to combine your like terms, and so we get 3x squared. Next, bring down plus 0x. Then we follow the same process. Now you have to get 3x squared. So what should we write at the top such that when you multiply with x, you get 3x squared? You should write plus 3x. 3x times x, 3x squared. Exactly what we want. These have to be the same, exactly the same. If the 3 is positive, make sure your term down here is also positive. 3x times -1 minus 3x. Subtract and distribute. Remember, the first term should be 0, which it is. Then we have 0x plus negative distributes plus 3x. We just get 3x. Bring down the plus 13. Okay, almost done. X times what gives us 3x? X times 3 plus 3. 3 times x, 3x. Again, these are exactly the same. That's what you're looking for. Minus 3. Subtract and distribute. We are left with a remainder of positive 16. Okay, almost done. So when you write your answer, we're going to write it this way. We're going to write 4 x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus the remainder over your divisor, x minus 1. And x minus 1 is just with the 16. Okay, we only divide the 16 with the x minus 1, and this is now complete.